everybody, it's Tasty Thursday again. Last week we were in Mexico, and this week we had a really long trip. If we were actually flying from Mexico to today's location, it would be a very long flight. Like, I don't know how many hours, but probably close to 15 or 20. It would be a long flight. But we're not really going to our destination today, where our taste buds are. Today we're going to China. We have two exciting guests today who are going to join us in a little bit. You'll get to meet them. So I'm going to go over our ingredients list first. We're making something that to Chinese children is one of their favorite things to eat. It's called Jiazo. Now, one of our special guests is going to talk to you a little bit about Jiazo, but we're going to go over our ingredients list and we're going to mix it up, and then while our ingredients are mixing together, you're going to hear from that special guest about the time that she spent living in China. Okay. So here are the ingredients for the jiazo that we're going to make today. The first thing is we have our wonton wrappers. Now, we used these last week in Mexico. This is a fresh pack. So I haven't been carrying these around with me since last week. So you can see they're really thin. This is going to be our dumpling part. We also need some celery, some carrots, some cooked chicken, something called 5-spice Chinese powder, some soy sauce, and something called sesame oil, and also a little bit of water for dipping our fingers. Now, you remember from last week we had to dip our fingers wet just a little bit to get the wonton wrapper to stick together. So we're going to do the same thing today. But first, we're going to go ahead and mix all of our ingredients together. Now, if you have a food processor like this, or your mom does, this is the easiest way to do this. You might need their help. But what we're going to do is just dump all of our ingredients in, except the wonton wrappers and the water. Now, you might notice that I have some water boiling here. That's because that's how we're going to cook our jiazo dumplings. Okay, so we'll add our chicken, and we're going to add some of our powder. We're going to do just a few sprinkles. This just gives it a good Chinese flavor. Alright. So some of you have ever had egg rolls before. This is going to be kind of a similar taste as an egg roll. And our water is really boiling. Alright, so we will put our sesame oil first. Just pour that right in there. You don't need very much because it's pretty strong. And then we're going to take our soy sauce and put some of that in. And then we're going to just mix it all up. And we're going to mix it until it's pretty fine, because it's going to have to go inside our wonton wrappers, which are not very big, so it needs to be chopped pretty finely. So, now that that's ready, we are going to put our lid on and chop it up. I'm going to do it on low, but you want it to be really fine. You might have to start and stop it a few times. So while this is mixing up, we're going to hear from our special guest who used to live in China.
你好，我的名字 Sherry， 我住在 Oak Ridge. Hello, my name is Sherry. I live in Oak Ridge. I'm a teacher here. I spent 4.5 years in China. I lived 2 different places in China. I taught college, university students English there. It was really fun and really interesting. How would you like to learn some Chinese? This is really easy. I'll teach you how to say hello. Ni, which sounds like me, means you. So when I'm saying ni, I'm saying you. How, like how are you? It's spelled H-A-O, but it's pronounced how. So when I say ni hao, that means I'm saying hello to you. Hello. And if there were several of you together, I would say ni men. Ni men hao. How are you? Like all of you together. So I guess since a lot of you are watching, I could say ni men hao. Your response would be how. That means you're good. Let me tell you a little bit about Chinese culture. Chinese people are very hospitable people. That means that they're very welcoming and they're very friendly. When I was in China, there weren't a lot of foreign people where I lived, and they were very excited to meet me. I ate in a lot of Chinese homes. Chinese people will give you the best of what they have. If they are serving you a meal, they will honor you by giving you a lot of food, way more than you can eat. And They will serve many dishes, really tasty. Probably my favorite Chinese food that I ate there. It's different in the north and in the south, and that's true in America. If you go to New England and you eat food there, you would eat something different than what we eat here in the south. But in China, in the north, where I lived, we ate a lot of different kinds of soup there. And my really favorite soup had beef or lamb cut up with a broth. I use a lot of cilantro and cumin, and that those seasonings are also used in Mexican food, and I really like Mexican food, so I like that a lot. My favorite food in the south, and that food in the north that I really like so much, is called yangrou palma, and it's just a type of soup with lamb, and it's really good. My favorite food in the south was this. It's like a big root vegetable, and they would cut it in big slices and fry it, and it was kind of like a sweet and sour, and that was really good. For most kids, their favorite dish is jiazo. That is like a dumpling, just like we have here in America. They're made from flour and water. You put some meat and vegetables inside and roll it up, and then you boil it, and you take it out and drain it and eat it with this vinegar on top. And all my students, that's their favorite meal. I hope you get a chance to travel one day, and if not, try some chopsticks when you go to a Chinese restaurant. I will tell you this. At Chinese restaurants in America, they give you chopsticks and a plate. No place in China will give you a plate. And their chopsticks are much easier to use in China because they give you a bowl. So just think about that. When you go to the Chinese restaurant and they give you some food, ask them if they will bring you a bowl. And then put some of your Chinese food in the bowl and try the chopsticks, and you will find it is much easier. Because if you have the two chopsticks in a bowl, you can kind of trap the food against the side of the bowl, and then you can pick it up with your chopsticks much easier. And Chinese people often hold the bowl in their hand, and then that way it's not so far to get it to your mouth. It's a lot easier that way. So try using chopsticks. It's really fun and really convenient, but it works much better with the bowl, which is not what we do in America. Alright, I guess it's time. I'll say 再见. Bye-bye.
Wasn't that really interesting how Chinese people really want to honor their guests? That's really important. That's part of being a good host or hostess when you have guests at your home, is honoring them and making the best food that you can and presenting a beautiful table. It makes guests feel really good. So it's nice to know that Chinese people do that too, that's a very important part of their culture. So you'll notice that I've gotten a few of these started, a few of our jiazo are already going. Our water's boiling and ready to go. So I'll show you how I'm folding these. You want to take just a little bit of our mixture, and then you're going to take your fingers and dip them in the water and run it around the edge so that your edges are ready to stick together. So there's a couple different ways. You'll see one way we're going to do it is we take two fingers and kind of push our dumpling up to the front, and then we're going to bring the other side up like this and stick it together. You might need to get a little more water. Sometimes the edges don't get quite all the way together, and then they'll come apart. We don't want that, because then our chicken will be floating around in our water, and that will just be weird. Okay, so there's that little guy. Now, the way you're supposed to cook jiazo is you're supposed to cook them in boiling water, 5 at a time. So I've got our water boiling, and I've got our 5 almost ready to go. And we're going to cook our jiazo dumplings for 2 to 3 minutes each. That's enough. Now, since our chicken is already cooked, that will be plenty of time. Really, we're just giving our dumpling time to cook, so we don't have to worry about anything being raw when we're eating it. This is a perfectly safe way to eat our jiazo. Okay, so now that our water is boiling, you might need your adult assistant to help you with this part. I'm going to put it in the boiling water, and you're going to notice that it will float. Whew. Probably can't see it because of the steam, but it is, I promise you. Whoops. This one doesn't want to go in the pot, I don't think. Okay. Alright, so we're going to let those cook for just a couple of minutes. I'm going to keep assembling the rest of our jiazo because we have quite a bit of mixture left. So while I'm doing that, one of our incredible viewers is going to share some really pretty cool facts about China. Now you'll want to make a special note to notice what she's wearing. It's pretty interesting. We'll talk about that a little more after her video clip. So, viewer, take it away. I'm going to finish up making the rest of our jiazo.
Here are some interesting facts about China. China has the largest population of any country in the world. About 1.3 billion people live in China. To stop population growth, the government made a rule that a family can only have one child. This means very few children grew up with brothers or sisters. Speaking of children, it's common for children to keep crickets or cicadas as pets in small wooden cages. That's pretty interesting. Did you know that 80% of the world's toys are made in China? There are a lot of factories in China. The Chinese have invented a lot of things like paper, the compass, gunpowder, and kites. A Chinese invention that you use all the time is toilet paper. It was made in the late 1300s, and it was only for the emperors. I'm glad we can all use it now. One of my favorite Chinese inventions was ice cream. Some people in China enjoy eating bird nest soup, frog, snake, scorpion, and dog, but not everyone in China likes eating these things. Some Chinese people may find them as strange as you do. It depends on their hometown, their family, and their personal taste. In some parts of China, the way a girl wears her hair shows if she's married or not. Young girls wear 2 pigtails or 2 buns. You can only wear 1 bun or 1 ponytail if you're married. Back to you, Aunt Liz.
Weren't those amazing facts? She had all kinds of interesting facts about China. And I don't know if you noticed what she was wearing, but she had a real Chinese outfit on. That some friends of hers went to China and they brought that back for her. And so she decided to wear that for our China video. And I think that was the perfect wardrobe choice. So our jiazo is almost finished. We have several that are finished actually. So I've got this plate here to show you. Now here are our flat ones. And here are the ones that we pinched together at the top. And they kind of stand up on their own, so that's kind of cool. Oh, and then here's one that's the triangular one. Now I also have something else to show you. You have to be sure that you get the edges of your jiazo pinched all the way together, because if you don't, this is what happens. It falls apart in the pot and all of your stuff cooks out and it gets flat and weird. So be sure you get the edges all the way together. Now, something else that I read online when I was researching how to make jiazo is that sometimes it works well if your wontons are too wet. Before you put them in the pot, if you put them in the freezer for 5 to 10 minutes, that helps them get really stuck together, and then you can boil them after that. You don't always have to do that, but that's another idea. So, I've got over here a few more that are finished cooking, and I've taken a paper towel and laid that on a plate so we can catch any excess water. So we're going to just use a slotted spoon. I don't know if we've used a slotted spoon before. It's this. It's a spoon that has holes in it. I know all of you have those in your kitchen. So this is a job for the slotted spoon. So we're going to just drain the water. That's kind of a slotted spoon's job. You scoop something up and it drains all the water out of it. So we're going to just put our last jiazo on the paper towel to dry. And I'm going to let these dry and put them on our serving plate and go find Taste Tester and see what he thinks of our authentic Chinese jiazo.
She's a magician in the kitchen.
Aunt Liz TV.
Watch it on Mondays and Thursdays.
Aunt Liz TV.
Cooking yummy foods and tasty treats.
Aunt Liz TV.
Give up orders and taste the buds sleep. Aunt Liz TV. It's time to eat.